But before we look at the alternatives, we have to start with the gold standard. We need to understand what nature perfected in the first place.
Look, pollen is the absolute pinnacle. It's the ultimate superfood for honeybees, period. They collect it, pack it into the comb, and turn it into something called bee bread. And that stuff is a powerhouse. It's got all the amino acids, fats, and vitamins they need. It's the fuel that raises the young and gives new worker bees that critical head start.
But, and this is a big but, here comes the reality check. As perfect as pollen is, buying it can be incredibly expensive. And depending on where you are and what time of year it is, you might not even be able to find it. So that practical hurdle forces us to find some other smart solutions.
So, what's plan B when the ideal just isn't an option? Well, it really breaks down into two main strategies that every beekeeper needs to have in their back pocket. And your choice comes down to this. Are you using a supplement or a substitute? Think of a supplement as a way to stretch your pollen. You're taking that high-quality, real pollen and mixing it with other proteins to make it last longer and bring the cost down. A substitute, on the other hand, is a whole new recipe. It has absolutely no pollen in it. It's built from the ground up with other ingredients to be as affordable as possible while still giving the bees what they need.
All right, let's say you're ready to roll up your sleeves and make your own protein patty. What can you actually put in there that's good for the bees? Let's go through the approved shopping list.
At the very top of the list, and a real favorite in all the research, is inactive brewer's yeast. It's just fantastic for bees, packed with protein and B vitamins. Then you have your reliable flours from soy, corn, and wheat. And of course, there's palm pollen. It's an amazing protein source, but just like flower pollen, it's got that same old problem. It can be expensive and hard to find.
Now, if you're going to use those flowers, there is one critical rule you absolutely have to follow. The research is crystal clear on this. Soy, corn, or wheat flour should never be more than 30% of the entire patty. If you go over that, you can really mess with the nutritional balance and make it super hard for your bees to digest.
So what about adding a little something extra to get the bees excited about the patty? You can, but the key word here is little. Think of these like a garnish. A tiny dash of turmeric, lemon juice, or cinnamon can make it smell more appealing. Some people use extracts like artemisia or thymol too, but again, you have to be incredibly careful with the amount. Less is definitely more.
Okay, we've talked about the good stuff. Now for what might be the single most important part of our chat today. Let's get serious about the do not touch list. These are the things that will do more harm than good.
Please listen closely to this. First, starch is a definite no-go. Bees simply cannot digest it properly. Same goes for powdered milk or any other animal product. Now, you might see those in some really old beekeeping books, but we know better now. Bees don't have the right enzymes to process them. And finally, don't try to play chemist by adding extra vitamins and minerals. The recommended ingredients already have what the bees need, and you risk making the patty toxic.
So, we've got our recipe figured out, but the job's not done. The way you feed your bees is every bit as important as what you're feeding them.
And when it comes to the recipe itself, all the evidence points to one simple idea. Keep it simple. Seriously, the most effective, time-tested protein patties stick to a maximum of 3 core ingredients. It's not just cheaper for you, it's a whole lot better for the bees' digestion.
And here's that rule of 3 in action. It really doesn't get much simpler or more effective than this. A basic mix of inactive brewer's yeast and powdered sugar, maybe with a little syrup to bind it together, is a proven winner. It's cheap, it's easy, and the bees love it. So how do you actually get this patty to the bees? Well, you have 2 options, but let's be honest, only one of them is the right call. External feeding, just leaving food out in the open, is a bad idea. It's a free-for-all where the strongest hives take everything, and it exposes the food to rain, pests, you name it. Internal feeding, where you place the patty right inside the hive, is the only way to make sure the right colony gets a clean, controlled dose.
So how much do you give them?
Well, a good starting point is somewhere between 300 and 500 grams per hive, about once a week. But of course, you know your bees better than anyone. You'll need to be the judge and adjust that amount based on how big and booming your colony is.
And that's what it all comes down to, really. Knowing what works and what's harmful, what's a good practice and what's a bad one, that knowledge is your power as a beekeeper. So the next time you're mixing up a protein patty, just pause for a second and ask yourself this: is what I'm doing truly helping my bees, or could it actually be hurting them? Now you know how to answer that question.